everyone, and you're welcome to the Analytics podcast, where we have conversations that inspire growth, purpose, and impact in careers and beyond. At Analytics, we're all about equipping talents across Africa and beyond with the tools, skills, and community to thrive in today's digital world. And these conversations, and one of it is one that we'll be having today, they're all part of that journey. I'm your host for today, Sofiat. And today, I'm very excited to sit down with someone whose career reflects everything we believe in at Analytics. And that's inclusive of courage, adaptability, and designing your own life on your own terms. I mean, it's your life, right? So you have to design it in your own terms. So if you haven't yet, you want to hit the follow button, like, share, and comment. And our guest for today is Wamide Animashaun. She's a VP of Business and Users at Propel GmbH, a co-founder of CAWSTEM, and it is a non-profit supporting African women in STEM. And also, she's a coach for mid-senior professionals navigating bold career transitions. That's not all. She's also a 5 times career switcher whose newsletter, On Growth Hand, reaches over 10,000 professionals across 98 countries, and she's been recognized as a global top 100 women of the future in emerging tech finalists. And she brings a wealth of experience leading teams in PwC, Jumia, and PE Energy. In this episode, we'll dive into how to find your purpose and design the life that you want. We'll be exploring how Wamide discovered her values, how she set bold goals, how she was able to overcome doubts, and how she has now built a life of impact and fulfillment. Wamide, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me, Sophia.
Oh, good to have you as well. Thank you for gracing our invitation. All right, so Wamide, before we dive in, I'm curious, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers are curious as well. You know, when someone hears 5 career switches, that's a lot. That's massive, right? It sounds like a lot of leapfrog. I can imagine that there were some moments of maybe clarity, confusion. Could you just take us far back to those early transitions? What did life look like? Did you have fears? Were there signals? Were there things that made you know that, you know what, it's time for me to make the switch? What set you onto that next move? What was that driving force that made you know that, you know what, I'm ready to take this next bold step?
Okay. How do I share this without sharing my entire life story? I guess the best way that I think about my career transitions is in 2 parts. I always say that there was a moment when it was unintentional, and there was another moment when it started being more intentional. So when I came out of uni, I was determined to figure out stuff before getting another degree, even though most people around me were going for their next postgrad and things like that. So I did start out as a front-end developer, and it got boring. But I had already, like everybody else, I was already applying to several different jobs. And so then I went through the whole PwC application process. And so when it clicked, I left that front-end developer job. This is not to say that front-end dev in itself is boring. It's just what I was doing, which coincidentally was around designing from scratch newsletters. So instead of writing, I was actually like developing the code. I was creating tables and doing stuff like that. But it wasn't as challenging. So I moved on to PwC. Again, very unintentionally, just because I got an offer. But to be fair, I did apply to that role because I always wanted to, do consulting. But I didn't get consulting when I joined PwC. And so I had to fight my way to get into consulting. So that's why it starts to get intentional. Because at this point, I'm there asking myself, am I foolish to be wanting more? Am I not doing too much? I mean, I was just in my early 20s, and yet very convinced that I wanted to move from audits to consulting. Most people just accepted what came. But I did it nonetheless. I fought for it, spoke to the people that I needed to speak to, and I was able to get, changed into consulting. And there again, confusion number number two, because it wasn't as rosy as I thought it would be. I didn't jump off, going to speak to clients and going to client sites. I really had to learn the ropes, and it was very, very demanding because I had come in a few months later than usual. So I had missed out on a couple of things. But all of that to say is, no, the transitions have never been a walk in the park. I ask, question, worry, and overall, I just go with my guts and I take the courage to do what needs to be done. I did leave that job at PwC to go for my MBA. Again, crazy, because I'm like, am I sure about this? So yes, every single time I've transitioned, it's come with, am I sure? What if it doesn't work out? Am I doing the right thing? But at the core of it, like I said, I go with my gut. Sometimes I find at least one person that has done their thing. They don't have to exactly have walked my path, but as long as there is one more person who has maybe taken an MBA, or one more person who's switched from audits to consulting, or one more, that representation is more than enough for me. But yeah.
I must say you're a very, very determined person, because it's a thing to have that thing speaking to you in your gut. It's another thing to chase right after that thing. And I'm so glad that you were able to chase it. And look at you here. I would say that you've had quite a wide span of roles, all right? So now we've sort of explored the purpose that threaded you through that path. Even though you've sort of answered one of the question I was going to ask from that. So at what point did you feel like, okay, now I'm switching careers, these transitions, am I really sure I'm doing the right thing? You mentioned that earlier, right? So did it feel more difficult at some point? Did it feel difficult? Did you feel like, oh, why if I had done this would have been more rewarding for me than the others? What made that difference? What made you know that, that step I took is the bold step, and I know that I'm staying in this. I made the right step, and there's no reason for me to, wobble around. I'm here and I'm doing this.
Right. Well, honestly, I never know until I'm in it. It starts with a gut feeling on the inside, but ultimately, whether it works out, whether it won't work out, I sometimes never know until I have actually switched. So it's only, how there's a quote from Steve Jobs that says you can connect the dots backwards, right? And that the dots only connect backwards. So it's only after I have switched that I then look back and I'm like, oh, why didn't I do this earlier? It's actually not as difficult as I thought it was. But one of the most difficult ones, for example, was actually leaving for my MBA. It was weird at the time because I had only just been promoted, and when I did, even though I had been trying to go to grad school for a little bit, I wasn't exactly sure what to do. And to be honest, this is the crux of the transition, because I kind of can do well at stuff. I'm a talented generalist. So it does mean that I'm not always sure what I want to do. And so that then meant having to try stuff to be sure that I wanted to do it. But the most difficult one, which I could not necessarily just jump off and take away, was the MBA. But the driving force for going for the MBA was it came with a full scholarship. So who was I not to take that on? But what I was most scared of was not necessarily, is this the right thing to do? By this time, I had worked enough in consulting to know that I really wanted to be part of business decisions, and I knew that getting an MBA was really going to help me expand my worldview. But what I was more concerned about wasn't I too young? I was 25 at the time, and I have a very small stature, so I felt like I was just going to look like a baby in class. I worried about whether I was also going to be able to contribute. I felt like I didn't know enough to bring in certain insights to the things that they were saying, because it wasn't like I was already a manager. Even though I was promoted, I was still in my early career. Nonetheless, I was about 4 or 5 years into my career. So I still felt like there was a lot I didn't know. But then I had a conversation with one of my managers back at PwC, and he told me, you know more than you think. And that single, phrase just kept me going. And somehow that's what has kept me through it all. Even when I'm starting a role that I don't know anything about, I just remind myself that I know more than I think.
Felt like, okay, I can actually do this? Or it was that moment that your manager told you, you know what, Wamide, you know more than you think you know? Was it at that point that you began to recognize your sense of purpose? Or at the point you made that very big decision of going for your MBA? Was it that moment, or was it a gradual thing? Was it something that you built step by step, from your MBA, got into UC, when you just continue, or it was something that it was a moment that you just keep into it, or was it gradual thing?
It was gradual, very gradual, and even goes as far back as my first year in uni. This was like in 2007. This was really the first time like I heard about purpose and the fact that you could, like, you were here on earth for a certain thing and you could be so specific about your why and how you were living. And I was just so intrigued with the idea that you could be that clear. And my first thing to do was to just keep asking, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? Like, I thought I was going to get like this very clear, my child, go do this. But it didn't necessarily come that way. But the core thing that I did was just be curious enough to just lean into recognizing the patterns in my life. So for example, just helping other people with maybe a course that they weren't clear on. I realized how much happiness it brought me. So I knew like, hey, helping people is going to be a core part of what I do. So that's where like my thing about enabling comes from. When I did go for my MBA, I have a background in computer engineering, and I realized very quickly, maybe because I was out of the country and very alone, but I realized very quickly that I needed to be more intentional about building my network. And I started thinking about like all the amazing women I was in class with. We weren't a lot, but I started to think, these my peers of today are the CEOs of tomorrow. So how about I build a network to like keep us going and connected? And that's really where the idea behind CAWSTEM came from. Now, CAWSTEM is 7 years old and is not exactly doing that with pivoted, and we're not necessarily building a network to just connect me to my uni friends, but all of that is to say, like, my life experiences is really what has led me to this point, right? For every question that I have on the inside, I seek ways to find that answer by either connecting or creating something, so which is why I created CAWSTEM, but now it's more of a network to connect early career STEM women to experienced mentors so that they can have guidance. Because again, when I started my career, I felt very lost. And so it is those life experiences that I have had that I always use to create something for others and to remind people that, hey, if I can do it, you can. And like, you don't have to stay stuck and isolate.
Right. All right. Thank you for that. I mean, it's safe to call you Dora the Explorer at this point. And at the same time, aside, exploring so many things, it's nice to know that you felt lost at a point and you felt like, you know what, it's unfair to also allow other people feel lost just the way I felt. And you thought of something to just bring them together. I mean, that's really, really fantastic. It's a very nice one, if you ask me. So now that you mentioned that at some point you knew that you wanted a continuous movement, that was why you birthed CAWSTEM, right? So now, were there points that when you reflect on these transitions, right, is there a common thread? Maybe values, mindset? Could it be people? I mean, you already mentioned people. So do we have anything aside people, maybe values, mindset, opportunities that helped you shift with clarity and confidence?
Right. So for me, the common thread is always impact. So I'll give you an example. So even though I did say at the beginning it wasn't intentional or anything, I was still interviewing with a lot of companies while I was at that first job. I interviewed with probably 2 or 3 more companies, but it's in reading what they do or how they position themselves, the values that resonated with me. and in just thinking about how is it that I want to contribute, what is it that I want to do, and how do I want to make impact, is what made me eventually decide to go with PwC. And then, so for me, the common thread has always just been impact. So when I was done with my MBA, for example, I thought, how about I figure out or I explore an opportunity to put these skills to use. I did have my old job, but for some reason, I wanted to build. Like, I wanted something dirty. I didn't want templates. I didn't want all the cushion of the big four. And like, we already had certain ways of doing things, but I really wanted to go dirty. I wanted to think. I wanted to brainstorm. I wanted to be part of the decision making. So for me, my thread is always around curiosity and impact. I'm always gravitating towards roles that allow me to learn, to think, to be part of the decision making, but ultimately to make impact. I'm always asking myself, what problem can I solve here? How can I add value here, right? So even if the industry is unknown to me, or I'm not sure exactly how to contribute just immediately, because that thread brings me in, then my ability to learn helps me just adapt and connect easily so that I can contribute in the most meaningful way.
All right, so that's absolutely interesting. I must say. All right. So many people struggle with finding clarity. I know that maybe this is not particularly exclusive to your story, right? But there are a lot of people out there, and with what you've birthed, because I'm sure that you've also had people, share their story, tell you, know what, I'm struggling, right?
Mhm.
So what practical steps would you say that can help someone just beginning their journey, help them discover their own values and maybe align it to the kind of work that best suits them?
So it's interesting you ask this, because I wasn't always clear in my head. I would say that my MBA, going for that MBA, really helped because I was able to dissociate from noise. I'm very, as you've seen, I'm an explorer, right? So I'm always doing one thing or the other. And in doing all of that, what happens is that your mind gets so busy and you're not necessarily able to listen to what is going on the inside of you. So sometimes you get the sense that maybe you don't enjoy a job anymore, but because you're not listening, you're not necessarily able to say, why don't I like this job? What can I do next? And things like that. So instead, you just keep managing and the years go by. One thing that has helped me, journaling. I've been journaling for the longest time, and it helps me get clear with my thoughts. It is the fruit of my journaling that has now become a newsletter that has grown to 10,000 subscribers. But being able to journal really helps me just figure out, for example, what is energizing me, who is energizing me, what is draining me, and even helps me deal with emotions on the inside. Sometimes there are things that you can't necessarily say or even articulate, and writing really helps me do that. Another thing that I found that helps is being able to listen to your own self, your own inner voice. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of noise, and that often means that sometimes we can be swayed by what everybody is saying or what is happening, what is popular, right? And because we're in this social media age, there's a tendency to have FOMO on a lot of things that exist today. You're thinking, I need to make money, maybe I need to get into tech, I need to do this, and before you know it, you're just moving in several different directions that don't necessarily bring you closer to alignment and fulfillment. So it's very important to listen to your inner voice. And by listening to your inner voice, right, what you then tend to do is build, and you can design a life that is actually suited for you, right? Just the same way that if you put all of us, like maybe there's 10 of us in a particular room, and you line us all up and ask us to make a particular dish, we're most likely going to make it differently. But at the end of the day, we're all still trying to make the same meal, right? Yes. So that's kind of how it is. We all can get to where we want to get to, but we don't all have to take the same journey there because we all have our own methods. One thing that really helps is also, especially when you're not sure, because early on I wasn't always clear as well, but something I always try to do, and I still do it now, but I started it a while back. I asked people around me, trusted people, not just any type of person, trusted people around me, what are my strengths? Because sometimes we can be so blind to our own magic. We can be so blind to our own amazingness. We can be so blind to our own awesomeness that it's important to have other people around us that can help us. So you can ask questions like, what comes to mind when you think of me? When do you see me at my best? What do I help you with? These are questions that really help you just reinforce your own strength as a person, and quickly help you recognize the kind of work or the kind of things that you should gravitate towards.
All right, so that's absolutely spot on. I mean, thank you very much for that. So, I mean, if you're watching this, you could take your pen and journal from what Wamide is telling you. Reflections. One of the tools is journaling, right? And those experiments. You also listen to people. She got feedback from people, so she's able to recognize her own blind spots. Figure out the values that she has in her. What's your process for setting meaningful goals and turning them into long-term visions?
That's a good question. Well, these days I start with a big picture. So, again, I'm a very multi-passionate person, so I also don't want to like drop any balls or anything, but I do know that I can't do everything at the same time. So I start with the big picture. For example, what kind of life do you want? What kind of work do you want? What kind of family do you want? What kind of marriage do you want? What kind of impact do you want to make in the world? Those are big picture questions that you can ask. And then I break that down into what I call a compass goal. So every year, I actually set yearly themes. I'm sure I'm not the only one. I set yearly themes, but then I went a step further this year. From going away from just setting a yearly theme for the sake of it to actually then breaking them down into quarterly goals. Those quarterly goals then kind of inform what I can focus on and go from there. So this year, for example, my goal was really to find flow and rhythm across 5 core areas of my life: my faith, my family, fitness, my finances, and my work life. It was important to me because after 12 years of working, I'm going to take like the work-life one. I wanted to come to a place where I had a clear understanding of XYZ things that I was trying to do. There are a couple of projects I'm working on that I wanted to find a bit more clarity on. So it was important. I broke those down into certain goals. Another part of my work life, and something that I decided on this year, was to show up more, online. So I thought, okay, I'll grow my LinkedIn following, but I also want to do Instagram, but I also want to do Twitter, but I also want to do TikTok. So there goes what I'm talking about, like quarterly goals. Rather than trying to do everything at once, my goal was essentially start off the year with making sure that I can create solid newsletter content, and then Q2, focus and double down on LinkedIn. Q3, we can try Instagram, and then Q4 you can try something else. So like in doing that, by the time September is wrapping up, I'm already excited about the next goal I'm about to hit. It's not to say that you're going to drop the next thing, but like you're piling up, right? Because now you would have found rhythm. In 3 months you've kind of figured out what to do. And then another example would be like fitness. I wanted to be more fit. I wasn't even trying to lose weight, but I just wanted to be a bit more fit this year. Started off with just enrolling at the gym. So I said, okay, I'm going to go twice or thrice a week. And that's it, right? But this Q3, Q4 have also added another routine to it because I've already built, a routine already. So now I'm like, okay, I can include more and include more. So start off with like big picture, be clear about what you're even trying to do as a person, the kind of life that you want for yourself. And then you can take each year knowing fully well that there is so much to do, set a yearly theme, and then break your goals into quarterly, timelines, and those will just naturally inform the action. And then keep it top of mind. It's not enough to like write these things down and go away, but keep going back to it. There's so much power in going back onto those goals because they kind of just resonate with you on the inside, and all the things that you need for those goals to come together, they actually start to show.
All right, so you're not discouraging the conventional New Year resolution, but go ahead with your New Year resolution, but you want to break it down bit by bit so it's even easy for you to achieve, right? Yeah, I understand that. Thank you very much for that. And thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's something that I'll also take into consideration. Thank you so much. All
Have
right.
a
So
whole
while
list
you've
of
set
things I
these
need to
goals, we've
do.
broken them down into, quarterly goals. So, sometimes life throws surprises. We all know that life doesn't go through that very linear direction. We all can relate to that. So, how then do you balance ambition with being flexible? How do you course correct when those things change, when they don't go as planned? All right. So, what are those tricks? You want to shed some light on the tricks that you use?
Right. I think it's more mindset than like tricks or tips. So, for example, I had mentioned how I said I wanted to do more with like my personal brand and I had certain things I wanted to do in Q2 and Q3. Well, honestly, I didn't get into the LinkedIn thing until Q2, Q3. And I'm only just starting Instagram like this Q4. So my goals are less about like the rigid checklist, but it's more about consistent direction. My mantra is two things. Well, yeah, done is better than perfect, consistency over intensity. So because I juggle quite a number of things as well, I have a 9 to 5 job, I have a non-profit, I'm also a career coach. It does mean that there are lots of moving parts for me and I can't afford to burn out. So I naturally just create structure around it. So these things around, I do this 3 times a week. I make a post XYZ a week. It starts with also putting systems in place. For me, for example, when I started showing up on LinkedIn in Q2, it was mostly around scheduling. I'll take out time on Sunday and I'll just schedule the posts for the week. So it doesn't impact and affect the things that I'm doing. But when those things don't happen, I don't beat myself up. I hold my vision tightly because look, whenever you wake up is your morning. So that I didn't post last week doesn't mean like I have completely falling off. That I didn't go to the gym last week doesn't mean I've completely falling off, right? My methods are a bit used. So another example, this year I set out to coach 120 professionals through career transitions. Don't even ask me how I came about this goal, but I decided that I was going to do 120 people. Last year I did 60. Why I decided to do 120 this year, I have no idea. But I definitely knew that I couldn't do that through one-on-one coaching. Like I couldn't talk to 120 people at once because I have a day job, right? And I only spend about 2 to 3 hours a week coaching. So I had decided that I was going to launch a group coaching program. Now, for many reasons that I cannot explain, I've just not been able to get that group program off the ground. My schedule just didn't allow it. But instead of sulking and instead of beating myself up about it, I pivoted. To hosting live workshops instead. So this is a live coaching session where you can come and ask me anything. So instead of like beating myself up and saying, oh, I didn't get a group program that would have lasted 6 weeks or something like that, I simply broke it down. So this year, I'm like, okay, so I can do every other month. I can do 30 people. By the time I do 30, that's already 90. And my one-on-one, I already have that. So eventually, I'm still achieving the goal, right? So life will always happen. And what's most important is that you have your vision guide you. Your goals give you structure. But know that things can happen and you can apply, differently. Same dream, different delivery. Your detours, life happening, all of these things will just teach you new skills on how to adapt. Really, ambition helps you with the direction, but being flexible and being open to being flexible will really, really save you a lot of heartache. So it makes the journey super, super, super easy. And that's pretty much what I do. When it happens, I pivot. When it happens, I figure something else out.
All right, Wamide, thank you very, very, very much for the very amazing, honest take-homes. Amazing, honest take-homes. There's a lot I've taken from you, and I'm sure that our viewers are also enjoying this, and they are, scribbling 1 or 2 in their notepad. Okay, so now we're moving to self-doubt, right? How do you overcome challenge? What role has self-doubt played in your journey, and have you learned to move forward when the path is not clear, or you're just stuck and you're feeling like, oh no, one day you just didn't do the right thing? Do you just move away from it, or do you just move past it? Rather, do you move past it, or it just comes and it keeps ringing in your head?
Well, Honestly, self-doubt has always been a constant companion, especially while transitioning and also with other like certain decisions that I make. I'm a recovering overthinker and perfectionist. So this naturally means that I will brood over certain decisions a lot and over and over and over. But the thing that has kept me going is just having the courage to move nonetheless. And action quiets doubt. Once you start, you realize that you're more capable than the story in your head. It's what that my manager told me back then. You know so much more than you think. But also, it's in being able to recognize when you're stuck. What I do when I'm stuck is also talk to somebody else. I cannot be my own doctor. So I do have my own coaches as well and my own trusted advice counsel. And this is where I go to unpack and share the things that are on my mind. And it really does help. So self-doubt or death, but it's just one of those things. I move nonetheless.
All right. So that brings me to imposter syndrome. What do you think about imposter syndrome? Is there any point that you had that syndrome, and what do you think can help every other person to overcome it?
Two things: practice and then show up. Practicing helps you get more confident, right? Before I go for anything, before I do anything, before I step on any stage, before I came on here, I think, I practice, I rehearse, I think through these things because there is no, world champion or athlete that is winning any medal today that is not practicing behind the scenes. When you see them running, that's not their first rodeo. They've been going on and on and on and on. So if you want to show up and really, really give imposter syndrome a run for its money, the best thing you can do is practice. The other thing is to show up nonetheless. I've been in rooms where I question myself and ask, how did I get here? Am I sure I fit in and whatnot? But I stay nonetheless. And you remind yourself, you change the story in your head. Remind yourself that you deserve a seat at this table. Remind yourself that you work to be here. Remind yourself that you know more than you think. And little by little, it gets easier. It might not go away completely, but these few things are the things that I do that help me deal with imposter syndrome no matter what.
All right, thank you very much. So if you're the person that has that fear of failure, I know it's massive for a lot of people out there. So yes, Wamide has told you to practice and show up nonetheless. So don't be hesitant to take the bold steps because you may mess up. Just show up and practice before you show up. All right, thank you very much, Wamide. So now doubling down to that question. I know you may not want to share so much personal stories, right? But could you just cite an example or just, reminisce back to a time that you actually failed at something significant? How did you turn that to grow for you?
Okay, let's see. Okay, one story that comes to mind. So, well, let's see. I started writing certifications in like my second or third year of uni. This was, all of us really saying we wanted to have this unfair advantage when we got out of school. So I started with, at the time, what we call Cisco certifications. I did my CCNA, and then during my SIWES in year 4, I was doing my CCNP switch, which I failed. Now, failing that exam, I'm not even sure why, but it just wasn't entering. Traveled all the way to Lagos to go through the exam, and then I had to go back and brood over all the. But failing that exam, right, was so pivotal at that time because I quickly realized I didn't want to do networking as a career, but I didn't know. If I didn't fail that exam, I wouldn't have taken a step back to be like, hold on, what am I even doing? But I needed to also prove to myself that I knew what I was doing. So I resat and retook the exam and passed. But I didn't go any further after that. And that's probably where a lot of my transition and courage starts from. But at the time, the way that I try to think about failure is just reframe it as data. Every misstep is actually leading you somewhere. It might not look like it, but it is information that is pointing you closer to what works. By the time I failed that exam, and thankfully I was also working at a telecoms networking company, so I quickly saw that I didn't want to be carrying routers and switches. I actually wanted to be at the front end. I wanted to talk to people. That helps me double down on, following and pursuing a career in consulting. So failure is just data.
It's no fatal, like a lot of people say. All right, thank you very much for sharing that, Wamide. I'm sure that would inspire someone out there. All right, so we've spoken a lot about, building resilience, being motivated, staying on top of things, staying on track, knowing that you have a vision and you have to get there. Do you have some daily or weekly habits that has helped you stay grounded and motivated during tough seasons?
Well, this particular season of my life is largely about resting. I'm delegating what I'm not good at, and I am asking for help more. But also, my number one ritual, which I kind of already shared earlier, would be like reflecting and journaling. So sometimes that might look like just thinking through a particular win. Sometimes that might look like thinking through a particular lesson. Sometimes it might even just be what I'm grateful for. So I always see like the start of every month as a really, really good time to think through a couple of those things. I'm always looking towards, what am I grateful for in this season or at this time? What am I grateful for so far? And it can be across, various areas as well. The other thing that I do is I also take social media breaks. On the first day of every new month, I am completely unplugged from social media. You might see a post because I've scheduled, but I always take breaks off social media where I am completely unplugged. Sometimes it's a day, sometimes it's even a week. And those things really, really help me stay grounded. Because again, it's very easy to get just into the flow of doing things for the sake of doing things. But the ultimate thing that I do, like I've said, is rest, withdraw, retreat. I am very comfortable in not doing activity for the sake of activity. I'm very comfortable doing unconventional things. Maybe it's because I switched careers so many times. I feel like there's nothing new anymore. And I always lean into community as well. Like I would create time. One of my core things this year is fun. So create time for fun, leaning into my own community and just having people remind me of so much more outside of work.
Oh, that's very interesting and very inspiring as well. So that brings me to a very quick one. Would you say social media is a distraction? As you mentioned, plugging from social media. So
no, it's not a distraction. It's like any medicine or anything really. Too much of anything will take you in a direction. If you drank only water every day, you're not going to get the nutrients that you need. But water is great. If you eat only food every day, you're not going to get the balance that you need. But food is great. So it's kind of like that as well, and knowing very well like how to position things. Social media is part of our lives. I've met amazing people through social media, and I'm grateful for the opportunities that it brings. But I also recognize that sometimes I need to be able to hear myself and not be overwhelmed by the ideas of other people. And pulling back and taking a pause really helps me do that. Just unplugging helps me reconnect with my own inner self.
Yeah, that's very, very spot on. Thank you for sharing that. So now what do you think about burnouts? When you're burnt out, how do you refuel your energy tank? When that burnout starts to creep in, before it settles in, before you're completely burnt out, when you already sight it coming, how do you just refuel the tank? And you know what? I don't want to get burnt out. So do you have boundaries? Do you have practices that helps you guard your own well-being?
Yeah, definitely. I've been burnt out many times than I can think. And one of the core things that really helps me is, again, just pause. I'm constantly reminding myself that these things will be there when you come back. And so I don't do the, oh, I can't stop working, or oh, I can't take time off social media, or like I'm happy to unplug. But also in intentionally creating things and spaces that help me just connect with something else. So for example, last year I did like way too many things. I was traveling back to back, and at the same time I was planning a major event. And so by a certain time I got so burnt out I could not write. Like I would try to write and I will be blank, completely blank. I'd rather write something of value than, just write for the sake of it. So I took a pause. I didn't even ask for permission. That's also another thing. You don't need to ask for permission when you're burnt out. No offense to anyone. Then all of that meant like really just going back to the basics. It looks like spending time with my extended family, like going home to my parents, for example, connecting with old friends and really making time to speak with friends I hadn't connected with in forever, playing games, traveling, just doing the randomest stuff, I assure you, even baking. And 2 months after, I finally came out of that slump, and I was finally able to, like, I knew it. By the time I rested, I knew it. And by the time I wrote, even I knew that I was writing from a place of being full. So I always refill my tank by just unplugging. And these days, I really, really try a bit more to set better boundaries. I try to not work on the weekends. But because I'm juggling all these many things, sometimes I do. But again, boundaries. I try not to do it too much. And when I realize that I am, already nearing, I just unplug. I just paused completely. I took a week off Instagram like early this month, and we're still here. So yes, I unplugged. Rest is not a reward. It's part of the process.
Rest is not a reward, it's part of the process. Interesting. All right. So now, I mean, from everything you said, it's so obvious that you've been able to design a life with purpose, and that purpose is also aligning with your own strength. So, in your overall experience, what do you think the difference is between pursuing success versus designing a life of fulfillment? There are two different things. So, where's that distinction? Where do you think that there's a gap in between, judging from your experience?
That's interesting. There is a wonderful article by Clayton Christensen, and I'm trying to remember the title now, but it's something around how will you measure your life. I think that's what it's called. And that particular article and theory and everything around it is so powerful when I first read it, because it really helps me just lean more into the concept of me. Not me in a selfish way, but like me, what is fulfilling for me. So I would think that success is more external, the way that people think about it. Sometimes they can term you successful if you are winning awards, or if you have a certain title or a certain recognition, right? If you make the Forbes list today, obviously you are successful in every right and you have earned it. But fulfillment is so much more than that. Fulfillment is internal. This is like when all the things around you actually come together and align. Your strengths, your passion, your why, your values, they come together and they align. I've been there before as well, where I've had a job that seemed good on the outside, but deep down, I was not really feeling the work, right? So sometimes you can be successful but still feel empty. But fulfillment is so much more, because it energizes you and it keeps you going, and you don't necessarily need external validation to remind yourself that you are fulfilled.
All right. Thank you very much for that brilliant answer, Wamide. So, I mean, the clear distinction is for fulfillment, it's more internal. For success, it's more outward. It's more like validation from people. Oh, yeah, that's interesting. And that's a brilliant take. Thank you for that. All right. So, how can people discover and leverage their strengths and passions to create impact? You mentioned impact earlier on, not just in their careers, but all around their life, not just personally, all spheres of their lives. So judging from your experience, how do you know they can stay on top of things in that aspect?
Right. But, well, I mean, it's again, people will think that I'm listening so much to myself, but really, start by just taking inventory. What comes to you naturally? What do people thank you for? What are the problems that you care about, right? Finding your strengths, making impacts comes together when your strengths, your passion, your values, when all these things align, it makes it so much easier. It's kind of like a lock that, finally finds its place. That's pretty much what you're trying to do at the core of it. So start slowly and just start by recognizing patterns. It's not going to be completely clear for everybody right off the bat. Sometimes our environment, the things around us, the people around us, the places we grow up in, they all contribute to how quickly we're also able to resonate and recognize these patterns. But the core thing is this: just take inventory. Sometimes it looks like asking questions from other people. Sometimes it looks like asking yourself these questions as well. What are the things that you gravitate towards? What are the things that bring you joy? For example, I mentioned here that I found out like just helping somebody through a difficult course brought me joy. That is a seed that I've translated into what I do now as a coach, right? Because what I'm basically now doing is saying, I've been there. I don't want you to go through this, so I'm going to help you through it. So you see what I mean, right? Eventually, the gift and the thing might evolve and look differently at the end of the day, but the fundamental is still the same. You want to help people. You find joy when maybe you talk,
right.
So think about those things.
All right. Thank you very, very, very much, Wamide. I mean, I could keep you here all day long. You've been dishing out so many brilliant takes. And even me myself, I'm learning so much. All right. So before we wrap, do you think that there are some strengths that you did not realize earlier on in your career or even in your life generally, and it was until later on that you realized those strengths and they ended up being super useful for you?
Oh, definitely. I didn't think I was good at writing. I didn't think I was. I mean, we all write, right? We answer the questions that they ask us in uni or whatever, but I didn't ever think I could write. And that's because I did try. So from 2014 to like 2020, I had a blog that didn't necessarily take off. And I called it Finding Self. I was trying to figure stuff out and whatnot, but it didn't take off. So I didn't necessarily feel like I knew what I was writing or what I was doing. And then in 2021, 2022, it just won't go away. Like, thought about writing. I had also seen a couple of other people's notes, and I started to just feel more drawn to sharing the things I had learned in the course of my own career. And that was really just the fundamental. But here's the thing. The way that I was writing 3 years ago is not the way I write now. I've grown through it. I've learned. I've even trained myself and gotten better at it. So it's also knowing that whilst you might have a strength, you can also still get better at something just by doing it. But the funny thing, I was going through my LinkedIn recommendations a while back, and I realized like someone from one of the clients that I had worked with while I was at PwC had actually written as a recommendation, oh, the way Wamide writes is so captivating and this and that. This is a corporate environment. So when I first read that recommendation 6-7 years ago, I thought this man is just boboing me, but thank you for the recommendation. But now going through that, I realized this was always there. So sometimes it takes a while before you yourself you would see some strengths. And that's why I said that it's always important to ask people, trusted people around you as well, what is it that they see in you. If you work with people, you can sometimes ask the people that are not necessarily part of your like your promotion or whatever, like somebody that is not that's not your direct manager, because they don't have as much bias. They see you as you are, and they can actually give you honest feedback about how you're doing. So that's how it was. If you had asked maybe my manager then, he would see all the imperfections, like Wamide does not send reports on time, or that may have been their own reports, right? But this client saw something else, and really everything that everybody is saying about you, there is something there, so don't disregard it, right? So yes, writing, I didn't think so. So if you ask me like did you think you were going to have X number of subscribers? I'm like, definitely not. But here we are. Who knows? Maybe a book is coming sometime.
Oh, interesting. I've already given us some expo. That's interesting. All right. Thank you so much. I mean, you've shared so much. All right. So now, if there's one thing you could leave our audience with, what takeaway about finding purpose, because I mean that's the theme of today, right? So, if there's one thing you could leave the audience with about finding purpose and designing the life that they want, what do you think it would be? Just one piece of advice, and maybe something that you wished you had known before making some of the transitions that you made. Who knows? One or two people here. Yeah. Let's
All right. To close with anything, it would really just be start. Like, just start small, start crazy, start imperfect. If you're not sure where to start from where you are, really, because purpose is not something you stumble, like it's not something that comes upon you altogether. It's a series of daily actions, choices, courage, clarity, trying, failing, right? All of those experiences are actually bringing you to where you're supposed to be. So moving and doing stuff will bring you a lot more clarity than finding the perfect answer. If there's anything I would tell myself while I was transitioning as well, it would really just be that I always had it in me, and so much more than I thought I was yet. Because with that, I would have moved quicker, faster, with more courage. Yes.
Right. Thank you so much. With that, you'd have moved quicker with more courage. That's interesting. All right. Thank you so much, Wamide. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing your insight, your vulnerability as well. We've covered a whole lot, right from purpose to transition to alignment to resilience, and there's so much gold within your journey. Thank you very much for gracing this event, and we've learned so much from you. So, do you have any parting words?
Again, just remember, done is better than perfect. Don't overthink stuff, and you have the power to reinvent your life. You're not late to anything, you're not behind, you're on your own journey, but ultimately you have the power to reinvent your life, to reinvent your career, to get that dream life you've always dreamt of. And I don't mean fancy houses or fancy cars or anything. I mean deep purpose alignments. So you have it within you. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Wamide, and to everybody listening. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. You have the power to redefine your life. Maybe you found something to reflect on, a value you want to reconnect with, a fear that you've now decided to face, or a small goal that you want to set, judging from everything that you've heard about Wamide. So if you want to follow Wamide, you can find that on Growth Hand and newsletter, and you could also check out CAWSTEM, and of course I work at Propel. So if you found this episode useful, please do us a favor, share with a friend who is thinking about their next sleep, leave a review or just a comment saying what part resonated with you most. Until next time, please keep chasing the life that aligns with your purpose. I'm your host for today again, Sophia, and thank you for tuning into the Tech podcast. Stay curious and stay courageous.